Hey, Joe, great to have you here today, Dr. Joe Esposito. Joe, I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction here, but I think I'm going to need you to brag about yourself a little bit in this intro because there's more to you than meets the eye, and I can tell you right now, I don't know it all. So, Dr. Joe Esposito is originally from New Jersey, the great state of New Jersey, but now is full-time in Illinois. And Dr. Joe is a chiropractor with a really unique vision for our profession, and I really want to dive deep into that, Joe, if we can. But you've created a company called Align Life Chiropractic. It's a number of clinics around the country that has a unified message and a philosophy, and I want you to share that and kind of bring forth your background, because I know you as a great chiropractor, as somebody with great skills with his hands and has worked a great deal in one of the techniques we call in our profession Gonstead. And you also have this unbelievable background in functional medicine where you really have, and I hate using the term functional medicine, right? We like to say functional nutrition, where you and I kind of have a very similar philosophy where we look at somebody's blood chemistry presentation and design a lifestyle that is really going to maximize their nervous system function based on that. So I'm so glad to have you here, because it's rare to find guys like you and I who think so alike. But you've been able to take not only how we think and make it clinically relevant to your patients and your practice, but you've been able to expand it to a number of different practices. I believe that's somewhere in the 30 or 40 practice range. So, Joe, if you could kind of add to what I just said about you, so people know exactly who we're dealing with.
Sure, and I appreciate the opportunity, Steve. I watched your interview with Dr. Turnpaw, and I was excited, pacing, taking notes. I was like, I love this angle because I haven't seen good chiropractors talk about functional nutrition. So I just applaud where you're going, what you're doing, and I loved the first one. So I hope to meet those standards today. So I was doing. It's fun when you talk about functional medicine. I didn't know what that meant because I was doing genetic testing on squamous cells in the 90s for looking at SNPs for liver dysfunction in a migraine case in 95. And they're like, what? I was like, and I heard this functional medicine. I'm like, oh, I guess that's what I do. I guess it's functional medicine, the nutrition that we do. For me, it's been a clinical journey. I've been obsessed with outcomes to the point a little unhealthy when someone doesn't get better with, I don't care if it's low back pain or cancer, I'm uncomfortable. So it wasn't an ego thing. It was, I didn't want to let someone down that came to me and gave me their health and said, can you share this with me and protect me and guide me? And if I didn't get the result, I took it really personal. So it wasn't the healthiest journey for me, but it allowed me to use some academic passions to dive in and figure out the intricacies of the human body. And to this day, I'm as fascinated, or really more fascinated, in the human body than I was 25 years ago. So my journey started, I started in the nutrition field with a nutrition background, and I was into fitness. I became a bodybuilder. Skinny old me was on stage winning bodybuilding shows. And it intrigued me so much that I could work out for 20 years and then change my diet for 3 months and make 50 times more impact than 20 years of working out. That was beyond me, that the human body could have that much of an impact with food. So I saw it in physique first, and then I started to see what kind of impact it would make in physiology. And it's funny, I was my first patient. My sister was my second, who had severe asthma since birth, and always itching her throat, fatigue, moody. Did a food allergy test and had a milk allergy, and there was no change. And she said, all I'm doing is a little coffee creamer. She took out that little coffee creamer. Her life changed. Her mood, her sleep, her energy, her allergy, the itching, everything's gone. That was like my second case. And from those little experiences to the future of working with terminal cancer, morbid obesity, metabolic syndrome, and all the things you and I share, I became in a sense, angry and frustrated that no one knew this stuff. So I go to a conference and call my dad and say, no, really, it's an MD on stage saying that doesn't work. Like, no, I read his book. He's a medical doctor, and he's saying this doesn't work at all. And I don't know why no one knows this. And I pace around and call people. And I felt I was in my own movie in this apocalypse of like this unknown data. And it freaked me out for 10 years because I kept learning more that I didn't know and more, and no one knew any of this stuff. So I built 6 practices in my first 6 years with this work. At the 6 months in, I was building my second office and my third office. And because the integration of chiropractic with a functional approach to physiology, to me, I don't know of anything in the world in healthcare that has that far-reaching of an impact on the planet. I really don't. And that much positive impact to human bodies. So that's kind of where my journey came. And then I was innate in business. So I had my first 6 clinics, and then we decided to create a franchise to deliver this message on a larger scale, because I realized this was way bigger than me. I couldn't hold this data, and I didn't know how to deliver it. All I knew was keep opening clinics and serving people. I didn't know how to deliver it. I wasn't into podcasts. I didn't understand all the internet. It was like, put up another clinic, teach doctors, put them in, serve people. Open another clinic. That's all I knew. And now I've matured in how we can deliver messages doing what we're doing now. And I see the opportunity in our profession as to be phenomenal as to what we can do in chiropractic.
Now, with Align Life, though, you've been able to franchise the message, and that's what's so impressive to me. There are other franchises out there, but you can't possibly have the business acumen to run 30, 40 clinics that you own yourself. So you went from 1 to 2 to 3. You saw that became a bigger business burden on you. Meantime, you have this background of treating patients. Your success came from the patients coming to your office and getting results, and the volume dictated that there needed to be another clinic and another clinic. And then as you communicated this around the country, because you started to attract people in our profession who wanted more of what Dr. Joe was doing, you saw an opportunity and said, all right, well, you can do this too. I'll provide you the framework, the structure, but now you, Dr. So-and-so, have to take this franchise and recreate what I've created. So right there, that to me takes a whole different level of understanding and business. So as good as you were as a clinician, you now had to become an administrator, a business person, an investor. I mean, kind of take us through that journey a little bit.
Should I take all the scar tissue and throw it on the table here, or it fill the room? Yeah, it's another craft is business. Is you have this mission and you want to spread the word, but you have to have analytical data. You got to be able to market. You got to be able to communicate to doctors. You got to be able. There's so many levels, and it was. I thought it'd be a year journey to solidify a process to teach a group of doctors how to implement this type of work. But it was a decade, about 10, 12 years of diving into business to another whole level. So from all my clinics, my apartments, my second home, my everything I've ever had to be put in to make this reality. So it was exhausting mentally, financially, emotionally, but inspiring and enlightening and freeing at the same time, because it allowed me to really be able to say, wow, we can reproduce something in 1,000 clinics. Like, I now see the potential for us to not impact like 10,000 lives, but literally impact 10, 20 million people by streamlining the deliverable. So we changed, we built over probably about a 400-page manual on how to communicate, how to start a business, how to get a loan, how to communicate, how to set up your computers, run your finances, audit the clinic, learn software, answer the phone, you name it. It's a formula. It's an exact formula. So the formula is in training. The formula is in marketing. The formula is in business. in every step of it. When you launch a clinic, when you build this clinic, when you scale a clinic, and when you sell a clinic, we teach every single aspect along the way. So it's at the point we're at now, it's ready to start moving forward. And that's why I love my relationship with you, is bringing this functional inspiration to doctors to the group of Align Life.
Yeah, and especially, for those of you who are listening to this at a different time, we're in the middle of the COVID-19 crisis. And we're going to talk a little bit about how things are going to change, where we were before this, where we are during this, and where we're going. And of course, we don't know the future, but I think we can project forward in what needs to be done. But for the people who are listening to this who are not chiropractors or clinicians, you have to realize that when you go to, let's just say, I don't know, a brain surgeon or an orthopedic surgeon at a hospital, that doctor is fully engaged in being the best surgeon that they can be. And that's all their education, all their research, all the work that they do is to be the best clinician. That's because the industry that they're in, the medical industry, has, for every one great brain surgeon, there's probably 5 or 6 MBAs, people with a master's in business administration, marketing that doctor's services. So when we use terms like marketing and accounting and doing all these things that Dr. Joe just mentioned, it's because you have to. You could be the best at something, and if nobody knows you're there, nobody knows you're there. The chiropractic profession does not have the luxury of bringing in the revenue that the medical profession does, so we don't have hospitals fully engaged in the financial success of that doctor. In our profession, the only person fully engaged in the financial success of that doctor is that doctor and his family, right? So what I love about your company is that it kind of brings that level of need, which our profession has, because we don't sell pharmaceuticals, we don't do procedures that bring in tens of thousands of dollars, per day, like surgeries, et cetera. But rather, we want our doctors to be great doctors. And if there was a business like a hospital or clinic environment, let's just say the Cleveland Clinic, right? So let's just say Align Life Chiropractic is kind of the Cleveland Clinic of the chiropractic profession, where you now can give a doctor the opportunity to be the best clinician they can be, while all of that other stuff that really takes a long time to learn. And to be a great clinician, a great marketer, a great businessman is such a rare experience that why pursue it? Let's take something that's Dr. Joe's got the scars, right? So Dr. Joe knows, let's use his scars to our benefit and be able to put forth a more cohesive message, but also allow the doctor to just be great at what they do. So, Joe, if you could just talk a little bit about what it's like to be a franchisee.
Yeah, you make a great point, because there's not a lot of surgeons upset with themselves, saying, damn, I should open a hospital. Like, that's not what they're saying. And in our field, it's this rite of passage to literally own a business. And it's caused detriment to the growth of our profession and the success of our profession. About 70% of people should never own a business, and they should feel proud and edified that they're an amazing clinician, that's okay, and that should be blessed and appreciated in this profession. And unfortunately, it wasn't. I think it's starting to become that way, and allow doctors to reach their honor their core values and reach ultimate success inside their clinical delivery without having to own this thing called a business. So what we're doing is building the edification of chiropractors, honoring their clinical skills, paying them for their clinical skills, and allowing them to scale. If they don't want to own a franchise, we will support them on that journey. So the beauty of that is my personal passion and my personal direction in life and business is finding out how I can honor the core values of my friend, partner, colleague, business associate, where we both win and the patient wins. So when I bring a doctor on, it's, do you want to, what do you want? High risk, low risk, more money up front, more money, whatever you want, I can give you. Partnership, ownership, employment, whatever you want. to honor whatever they want. And it's an odd conversation because they're like, I don't get it. I said, you have to honor who you are, and then we'll get your clinical excellence to shine. If you're a business person, own the business. If you're not, don't own the business, and create a piece inside of you so you can deliver the goods, which is the clinical skill. So I didn't do this because I loved the business. I was innately a clinician. So a franchisee, when they come on, we help from the initial lease negotiation to the SBA process to the build out. Everyone, the designer, the x-ray company, the table company, they all talk, they all know each other, and they put up offices. So you say yes, you wait 2 months, and we'll light the candle on the desk and give you the key, and you're ready to go in a nice streamlined office that's professionally built. And then we take you through training. We train your staff, we train you, and we guide you through the process of mastering what comes out of this thing, your mouth, because we're selling an intangible item. You can't see your spine, you can turn around, you can't see it like you can see your teeth when you go to the dentist. You can't take it home to your wife, you can't hold it. We're selling an intangible item with a high value. And chiropractor has minimized value as our profession, and that's been a detriment to the future of this profession. And it's time we stand up with high value based on high conviction in our communication. And that's really what we deliver. And while we're perfecting that, delivering your heartfelt mission with good communication, we're running analytics and stats and campaigns. We're doing Facebook and social and websites and landing pages and newsletters, and we're doing all that work so you don't have to dive into the ever-changing, volatile, confusing world of digital marketing.
Yeah, Joe, I got to tell you, in this environment that we're in now, where chiropractic is a profession that requires people to be, it's hands-on, it's brick and mortar. We take pride in the fact that we're still doctors who touch people. We touch them to provide our care, but we also touch them to diagnose. And the art of touching in healthcare is really being lost, and we are just such we're so good at it, and we do have to recognize that during a crisis like this, where doctors are either seeing a fraction of their normal volume, or they can't practice because their governor has deemed that their service is non-essential. To have a company like Align Life there, providing the communication, providing the newsletters, providing the assistance needed to apply for whatever the program is through the SBA, that's something I think everyone listening to this, who's on an island of their own, sitting in practice, having to do all of this on their own, it's kind of attractive to know that if you had a company like Align Life behind you in your practice and your career, that a lot of those things would be done in a team approach. Again, nobody wants to be alone on their island. So let's dive a little bit into this current COVID-19 experience, because there's nothing that has ever happened in my lifetime or in the last 100 years, in my opinion, that has put the metabolic health of people in the forefront of life and death than what's going on right now. I always say that medicine has done a great job at dealing with acute care. Like, we took care of broken bones, and we took care of acute infections, and we took care of so many things that are acute. If you have an occluded artery, what they can do to go in there and bypass that artery is dramatic. But they've utterly failed in chronic illness, the big ones being cancer, heart disease, diabetes, blood pressure, obesity, etc. This stuff you and I have been talking about for a long time. And motivating people to make changes. Let's just say you're 30 years old, and we're telling you, make these changes so you can have a long, healthy life. And the person makes the calculation and says, I'm 30, 35. If I make these changes, maybe I'll live to 90 instead of 80. Who cares, right? No one can really extrapolate that far ahead. And now with the statistics coming out of the COVID crisis around the world, but really in the US, it's shining through. It's the comorbidities that are taking people out. So hypertension, prediabetes, metabolic syndrome, forget full-blown diabetes and heart disease, just metabolic syndrome can kill you. And who has the answer to that? Who has the answer to those things? There's no pill. There's no pill. There's what we do. And that's where the chiropractor, in providing that structural integrity to the spine and nervous system, can add a layer on top of that to support all that work with good metabolic health. My argument is, if not us providing that service, then who? And if not now, when? So bring me into Align Life's projection into the world of nutrition. I know you've been really integral in creating formulations of your own based on your experience. You've been able to formulate products that never existed in the marketplace, and you formulated them and provide them to your practices and to any practice really that wants to do it. I believe the company's name is Asiva. And if you could bring us up to speed a little bit on that.
Sure. Yeah. I started formulating about 12, 13 years ago. And really it was just a clinical obsession on outcomes, because having 6 clinics and running labs and all of them and looking at data, helping doctors with recommendations and seeing some outcomes using 17, 18 different companies. Try this, try that. And I was a pre and post guy. So I have pre and post stool analysis, pre and post salivary, pre and post all CBC or just full chem panels. And I'm just looking at outcome. That's what I love about you and Termpa and your guys' mindset is I'm not that smart. I just know the outcome of it, what worked and what didn't. And I realized that this worked, but that and that didn't, off 17 different companies. So I started formulating based on my successes inside a clinical, just A/B testing. This worked, this didn't, for 25 years. I think what you're saying, and that the chiropractic profession, we are geared up. We are on stage now. We're out of the soapbox of trying to speak from our living room. Now we're on stage at the Coliseum because people want to hear this message. The society, it's divine intervention that we are where we are. We have to either launch and take this opportunity to create a legacy for the profession, or continue to squander back and with a minimalistic thinking and stay in the position it's in. So I think whether it be the last epidemic or the opiate crisis, which was a gift to the chiropractic profession, now we have this other gift, which is immune compromise. If you're not immune compromised, you may not get a fever. You may not even know you have it, and you got diagnosed. That's the level, or you die. I mean, that's the disparity between these two components. So in the medical world, the concept of prevention is not really quantified. It's early detection is considered prevention. So that's like driving by a house that has cans of gasoline and matches on the floor with a lot of young kids and just driving in circles looking for smoke. No fire yet. Let's go around. No fire yet. Or you're going in there and removing the gasoline from the house and taking the match away from kids. That's prevention. Early detection means we're waiting for disease. It's better than the crisis of watching the disease and waiting for the tumor to come out of the shirt, but it's still not prevention. The mindset of chiropractic is based on the body's a self-healing organism. And if we can pull that philosophy, which is the hardest thing to teach, and add tactical steps in order to honor prevention, it will change healthcare forever. It really will.
I agree. I mean, we use the word philosophy in our profession quite a bit because there are underpinnings to our profession, right? There's foundational principles, and I like to use that terminology just because just foundational principles that are just undeniable. The body is a self-healing, self-regulating system, and anything that would interfere with that would promote disease and then ultimately disease. And seeing this crisis unfold in our country, where the chiropractor is in such a unique opportunity to communicate you mentioned before, like driving around looking for smoke. That's what the medical profession is doing, and that's not an insult in any way. As a matter of fact, there's fires everywhere, and they don't have the time to get out of the car, clean up the house with the gasoline around it. They have to actually go to fires, and now they're doubling down, and they're waiting for the next crisis and the next crisis. So now the effort and energy of the medical profession projecting forward from COVID-19 is going to be doubling down on crisis care. So your medical doctor, who's bright and loving and has the same intention as anybody else who wants to help others, is going to be full-time engaged in putting out fires. They're going to become the firemen of the medical profession. And here we are seeing, quite frankly, the chiropractic profession is seeing 2 to 6% of the population at any given point in time. That has to dramatically increase. I believe that if it went to 15%, every office would be overwhelmed and there wouldn't be anywhere near enough of us. But if we got to 15%, that would be the tipping point, and we would have to see a dramatic change.
Agree, and that's why I team up with a lot of my colleagues in the space of unified clinics. Stu Bernstein, the Helfrichs, other groups that are looking at, and it's a unified front. If we could put another 10,000 offices of chiropractic into the world, the shift in the paradigm of healthcare. We're already on the backside of the pendulum swing, which is we start with, you see that cartoon where you're eating roots, nuts, and you're living off the land, and then you're over here on full synthetic life, no understanding of the human body, full drug surgery at every turn, and it's coming back down. It's a midway back the other way. So we're right back on the swing in the middle here, and it's going to keep going if we continue to speak into people about the body is designed to be healthy. That's how it's made to be healthy. All we got to do is honor that and know what steps we could take. So in Align Life, we have the opportunity. I'm proud of having the distinction of being a full integrated office. Integrated not meaning medical integration. A lot of people think that. When I say integrated, it's we check body composition, lab panel, x-ray, and we're looking at objective testing to see, they have an extra 80 pounds of fat on their body. What is that going to do to the spine? Should I ignore that? What is that doing to the aromatase and inflammatory adipokines in the tissue causing inflammatory process? Should I ignore that? At some point, academically, I couldn't ignore anymore. I couldn't keep turning my head. I had to say, okay, I do want to take care of the spine and the integrity of the nervous system, but I got 80 pounds of fat pulling the spine off balance. Like, what do you do with that? I couldn't ignore it, so I had to address that. So we created a program that's been approved by the CDC as a pre-diabetic program, one of the only ones in the country. And then we go dive deeper into metabolic syndromes and dysglycemia, and looking at, wait a minute, if the sugar is off, what is that doing to hormone regulation, causing depression and causing it, and all these people on antidepressants with blood sugar imbalance. They're not even looking at that. That, again, the frustration made me have to go there. And so we keep going down these roads and finding so much we can help with simple things like food, supplements, water, exercise, breathing, chiropractic, like simple things, making massive change to human life. Massive.
Yeah, I agree. And not only that, but the one of the arguments used as a cudgel against our profession has been, where are the studies, right? Where's the research? And you and I know that the research that's being discussed is the randomized controlled placebo studies, the RCTs, that are so incredibly expensive to do and so unrealistic to human health. So you can understand how an RCT is so important when you're creating a drug. So drugs are inherently dangerous, right? They kill people. Even over-the-counter drugs kill people. But they also can be quite helpful in a crisis. So we do need an RCT system, a type of research, if we're going to use drugs. Now, you and I don't use drugs, and that's fine. We want the medical profession to have that tool. But the premise behind the RCT is that nothing changes. Leave the lifestyle alone. No variables will be manipulated whatsoever except for this pill. And let's just see what happens. And that's fine. But that doesn't work.
I brought that up because my true life mission is the research, is large scale practice based research. And we published 3 studies with the ACA RAC in the last 4 or 5 years, looking at demographic studies in Cairo. We didn't have the database available to do the higher clinical studies. I was a partner in Vitalogic software. And we have 400 locations, and we published numerous studies. And my goal is to segment the data to publish what can we do in a natural means for all these diseases. So I partnered now with Cairo HD, and they have the database available to start segmenting data on all the comorbidities, all the chronic diseases. And we're gearing up to do some pretty big partnerships and publish the largest scale research in the world of chiropractic in the next 5 years.
That's incredibly exciting. It's incredibly exciting. And I'm so glad that you're taking this innate skill you have of understanding technology and business and giving it back to the clinician, because this kind of research, this kind of data collection historically has been impossible. I mean, we're talking about, a really small scale RCT can cost, $200 million. We just know that our profession doesn't produce that kind of revenue. So now doing the data collection, and because the RCT that I was discussing, that controlled study, is not as relevant in our profession, because you and I know when you make lifestyle changes, whether it's adding chiropractic care and looking at structural integrity of the spine, changing diet, altering sleep, making exercise recommend, now you've altered so many variables that the RCT becomes meaningless.
Yeah, you can't do it. So it's got to be large scale practice based research where you take 50,000 Alzheimer's patients and you do a customized program to change their metabolic code to create this outcome, and then study those 10 years later and say, of those 50,000, look at the outcome, whether it's lab, functionality, cognitive function. You can look at 50,000 cases. Right now, our studies are 6 people, and it doesn't hold the weight. So large scale, based by condition, of anything from infertility to diabetes, and looking at an individual, because you're right, there's too many variables. And it's not the one pill cover up a symptom. It's what metabolic defects is this one individual dealing with, genetic expression, or what should we tone down and turn up, right? And that's individual. So it doesn't work in a human body. It works if you want to just pop a pill to look at a symptomatic change, but it doesn't really work for long-term outcomes in the natural health world. So we hope to be doing that. And that's Health Missions is the name of the company, healthmissions.org. A number of our colleagues are on that board and promoting this movement.
That's really exciting. It's just exciting news, because we recognize that that technology is making things so much more accessible and cheaper, and communication so much more available to people, that we can really get this message out there and collect this data. And you said before that COVID-19 is some kind of a gift, and I get it. I understand it. There's a lot of death and struggle going on right now, and economic loss, and we're saying things like it's a gift. Well, it's a gift on so many different levels, because even from a legal standpoint, I think data collection for us in our practices, and especially a company like Align Life, if it goes to 100, 200, 500, 1,000, 10,000 practices, that data collection is going to be the source of our research. And what we've seen with COVID-19, because of the restrictions on privacy. Again, we're not interested in giving up our privacy as far as our name and our social security number and anything like that, but being able to collect data from our patients, whether it be body composition, blood pressure, CBC findings, X-ray findings, palpation findings, all of the things that we use to provide care to our patients, and you now have a database you can draw upon. That's something the chiropractic profession has never had, and it will increase our leverage to the public in ways we've never seen.
And it's interesting, just in our group of about 30 clinics, we have no deaths, no confirmed cases across the nation. Not one case that's confirmed via lab, or no overt sicknesses or deaths. And I'm not saying that's because they got adjusted, they'll never get a disease. I'm just saying it's interesting when you look at epidemiological information as a large scale group across the nation to have zero. It was just an interesting stat. So yes, I think now it's like we're hearing the conversation of the strength of the virus versus the strength of the host. And I just did a video earlier today on Facebook to let everyone know that you're the host. Like, it's the host and the virus. You're hosting the virus, and whoever wins, wins. It's kind of an exciting competition. Are you the winner, or does the virus win? The virus is nothing without a host. You wash it off with a bar of ivory soap. It breaks the lipid layer and the genetic material spews out, and it's over. It's not a fighter. It can't survive. Get it in your side and the body, pierce through a protein into the cell. Now you got a warrior in there. So it doesn't have a lot of value without you. And then it depends on how strong are you. So the beauty of the chiropractic message is we believe in self-healing. The body is able to heal. And that's right along this story. A low mortality, high what do you call it?
Transmissibility.
Yeah, it's highly transmissible. It's highly, what's that word I'm looking for? Highly transmissible, I guess. But it's not very dangerous because of the numbers. Not that a lot of people are dying, because it is so transmissible to people. That's why there's a lot of deaths, because there's a lot of cases of it, right? That's the reason. So it's not like we're minimizing the death. We just realize that it is spreading very, very fast.
Yeah, and the classic case, that according to evolutionary pressures and principles, a virus that's really happy is one that doesn't kill anyone and spreads across the planet, and we all enjoy our life together, because without a living host, the virus dies. So the highly transmissible viruses are supposed to be the mildest, and the ones that are truly deadly are not transmissible because they kill the host. So the Ebola virus, there were in 1976, there were only 380 cases of Ebola because it killed 80% of the people that got it. And here you have like this hybrid, and the hybrid is because the healthy treat it like a common cold. The unhealthy are devastated. It has that hybrid quality to. We're actually still learning. I don't want to speak too soon out of school. A week ago, we were having conversations about how the cytokine storm that occurs in the lungs is the reason why people are dying, and that's certainly true. But now there's even more data coming out about how the virus can actually enter into the bloodstream, attach itself to a red blood cell, and affect the ability to carry oxygen. And that might be why we're seeing the hypoxia or the decrease in oxygen. So we're still learning. With all the information isn't in yet. But coronaviruses are not new to the world. We know what they are. The top 4 common cold viruses are all coronaviruses. And I believe, again, the information about the health of the host is just going to dominate the statistics. In Italy, 78%, and I'm not 100% sure of this, but 78% of people over the age of 90 being released from the hospital. I'm sorry, 78% of people over the age of 90 who are hospitalized are being released from the hospital. So what you're seeing is this. It's infecting so many people, but so few people are being harmed by it, but they're being harmed at a level that is overwhelming the healthcare system. And my message to our patients is, do you want to be the person in the next pandemic? Because there's going to be another one. I mean, these things are coming now 3 times a decade. They're all coming from seemingly the same place. And the next time around, do you want to be that person clogging up an ICU? And you actually, the data shows us you don't have to be that. You don't have to be the person clogging up the ICU.
I think if we get the exposure that we need in the realm of work that we do, like you're saying, in thousands of clinics, it will bring the public to change the medical paradigm, because it's now run by the pharmaceutical industry, and that pendulum that's swinging, the public are asking questions. So it wasn't that, I think, they all of a sudden decided in the medical world that vitamin D was something to look at. I think it was through natural circles teaching people that are asking questions, and the research is blatantly obvious that it affects, respiratory infection. It actually creates the immune system to be more aggressive in its management of infection, or it makes the immune system paranoid and autoimmune and start attacking its own tissue. That's what a deficiency of just that one nutrient is. So I think we're past the point of laughing and like, oh, really? A vitamin's going to help with this condition? When we look at the impact, and they should be testing in the hospital, zinc, selenium, vitamin D deficiencies, vitamin A deficiencies. You talked in your other video, glutathione, a NAC, and what that does. That should be tested in the hospital, so we can look at, wow, this deficiency is having way more impact than this one, because I know we have 92% of Americans have some form of deficiency or another. And I can't ignore that when we look at these morbidities. We're saying things like, oh, he was so healthy, the 30-year-old that died. No, he was symptom-free, probably with some pretty significant deficiencies, disallowing his immune system to step up to the plate when it needed to. This is my
Yeah, no, it's interesting that the numbers out of New York say that basically 80% of the deaths have one or more comorbidity, and the comorbidities are a list of 10. That list of 10 in our world is end stage disease, right? So, there's diabetes, there's hypertension, hyperlipidemia, congestive heart failure, kidney disease, dementia. All of these 10 comorbidities, 80% of the people dying have them. But you and I know there are different comorbidities, right? What about prediabetes? Or what about vitamin A deficiency, vitamin D deficiency, vitamin C deficiency? Nobody's even looking at that. If we were to parse down the other 20% that don't have the comorbidities, I'd be curious to know all of those markers that you and I use, not as a measure of diagnosing disease, but preventing people from expressing optimal health. It's just a different way of looking at the same blood test, the same blood chemistry.
Yeah, so I always talk about going upstream in a line life and whatnot. Is what's upstream? So at the top of the ladder, to me, the majority cases, besides accident and genetic SNPs and deficiencies, we have deficiencies, toxicities, and subluxations. We have altered nerve function. We have too much toxic impact to the human body, or we have deficiencies. Clear those up before you have the pre-diabetes, the dysglycemias, the metabolic syndromes, because then we get to the final stage, which like you have over heart disease, full blockage on three cardiovascular blockage in the heart itself. You're at the end stage here is what we're talking about. But there's a step of dysfunction above that, and there's even deficiency, toxicity, and subluxation above that we can focus on and make this journey a lot more pleasant than waiting till you feel all these things. The top is very easy. The other one is stress. Lower stress, better nutrients, cut the toxins, and remove subluxations from the spine. And your life quality of life is way better than waiting for dysfunction or overt disease.
Yeah. In my practice, and this is just anecdotal, my practice, and I'm sure this is going on across the country, but of course we have a little bit more time in our clinic. So we put out a message saying, hey, jump on the phone with Dr. G and let's have a conversation about anything you have, any questions you have regarding current events, sitting at home doing nothing. Is there anything that we can support you with? And we just filled up my schedule with these brief phone calls. And I would say 35, maybe 45% of those phone calls were people saying, thank you so much for the work you've done with me, because I feel so well prepared for this crisis. And we had a whole bunch of people who tested positive and did fine. Their symptoms were minimal, if any. Again, from an anecdotal standpoint, I had two couples in their 60s where the one of the couple was a patient of mine, the other one was not, and they both got the COVID virus, and the one that was my patient just did fine, and the spouse wound up with a hospitalization. And again, I don't say that because I want to instill fear in anyone, but it's just, I'm not surprised, and it lends to the work that we do and what I love about you and I and the people, the circles we travel in, is I'm not going to tell you to do anything I don't do for myself. And that's a really core principle in our profession. Whereas if I were a medical doctor prescribing medication, I don't want to take that stuff. you know?
That's a good point. That's a great point. And it's simple stuff. When you really look at how to maintain, the body is just so resilient and so adaptable to what we do to it. If you really look at how we handle the human body, we don't treat it very well. Nobody, even us that are healthy and our stress levels and whatnot, I'd say we're better than the average. But just look at what we do to this live being on a day-to-day basis, and it keeps kicking. It's a pretty resilient operation. It doesn't take a lot to bring it to another step of health. With the insights you and I have, the deliverable is not, is not what you would do for advanced stage heart disease or cancer, right? A lot easier.
So Dr. Joe, I want to first of all, I want to say that this has been a great conversation, and I think there needs to be multiple conversations. One of the reasons there needs to be multiple conversations is because I need to learn more. There's so much that you've gotten involved in that I just have not, when it comes to data collection, software, electronic medical records, billing strategies you have to make what we do affordable for people. Because, the fact is, your health insurance is not going to pay for your organic grocery bill, right? Yet your organic grocery bill is going to contribute a great deal to your health. And many of the services that we provide in our clinics, some of them are covered by health insurance, of course, but some of them are not. And you have just an expertise across all of these fields. So I want to have multiple conversations about data collection, business, marketing, formulations that are coming out with your Aceva line, as well as how can we get, and I want you to jump in here on people who are listening to this, how can they communicate with you and your team regarding Align Life and what that could look like for them moving forward? A lot of chiropractic practices are, like any other business, even a successful restaurant has narrow margins of profit, and the crisis we're going through that can be a month, 2 months, 3 months for a lot of people can put a significant financial strain on really great doctors and great practices. So how can people find your company, ask some of those questions, maybe have a discovery session with the people at Align Life so they can make a decision about the next steps for themselves and their practice?
That's a great point, because we're going to be doing discovery audits with clinics, and I'm personally going to do the first 20. So someone's really interested, where we look at your billing, we look at your finances, we know your run rate of money, how long can you sustain where you're at right now. We'll give you a calculation, show you where you can be. We'll look at debt reduction strategies. We know the average rent, payroll, all the different categories where you should be at. We know where you're overspending. We can easily look and give you some advice and some guidance. We have the opportunity for 20 offices to join the Align Life movement, where you stay as the clinician, the leader, and then we just come in with the whole back end. We released yesterday our virtual consult program. We have the software, the landing pages. Are you on site or virtual? All those already built. The ads are created, ready to go out tomorrow. The video for training the staff on what the script is, how to convert it, what to do, has all been laid out and sent to the doctors yesterday. So it's all built for them and ready to go. Our next stage is virtual lunch and learns with corporations via LinkedIn marketing into your community, getting people that are interested, and their employees are at home sitting at a coffee table with their neck bent over. 52% of Americans, it was 4.5% before this, 52 are sitting at a coffee table bent over in massive stress right now. If that's not a market for what we do, I don't know what is.
And their children.
with us. Would you say?
And their children.
And the children, yeah, the children and parents are going crazy. Cortisol's off the roof. They're binge eating because of the stress. Cortisol high, serotonin, dopamine low, and they're using sugar to feed the brain. And they just don't know what's going on, and they're gaining weight and they're more inflamed. So those are your ideal clients. 52% of America. It's only 160 million people looking for you right now. So we don't look to create new conversations. We look to get into the conversation people are having right now who need help. So people are interested in Align Life, and go to alignlife.com. On the top bar, there's a button that says franchise, and you could look at the opportunity in detail. And again, the first 20 I'm taking care of in the next 90 days, because I feel the pain of what they're going through. I've been through these cycles. I'm a lover of a profession. So I'm going to bring 20 along the journey to give them some power and comfort getting through this journey. And with Aceva and the formulations, it's aceva.com, looking at formulations that are going to help immune compromised patients to lift them up to a more resilient immune system.
That's incredibly exciting, and thank you. That's really generous of you to do that. Again, these times make up opportunities appear, and if you see an opportunity like this to have a conversation with Dr. Joe, you have to jump on it, because it really can make the difference between a truly successful career and one that is under the pressures and strain of what we're going through right now. So Joe, thanks so much for being with us. We'll see you again real soon. We got a lot to talk about, and we'll take it from there.
Excellent. Thanks, Steve. Have a great day.
You too.